Welcome back this July 4th. Looking ahead to November in the all-important Electoral College. Of course, 270 votes needed to win the White House. A lot of eyes will focus on Ohio and its 18 votes. Of course, Ohio will be a key swing state in this election. The Real Clear Politics average of the polls in Ohio show a tight race there. Hillary Clinton just over 44%, Donald Trump 41.8%. Let's bring in our panel. Chris Wilson, former campaign pollster for Ted Cruz, Capri Cafano, Democratic Ohio State Senator. Nice to see you both here. Happy
Absolutely.
4th of July.
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th.
All right, Capri, to you. Undoubtedly, Hillary Clinton has had a rough week. Some would say that may be a little bit generous to say. How is this playing in Ohio, clearly a battleground state?
Right. Well, I think it really depends on who you talk to. I mean, dyed-in-the-wool Democrats continue to defend Hillary Clinton and are looking forward to some closure on the email issue. You know, it's really down to who the swing voters are. And frankly, I mean, this is such a unique election that even though Hillary Clinton has, for example, you know, and the Ohio Democratic Party for that matter, a very strong infrastructure within the state of Ohio, a great ground game, and a ton of ads on TV, the real question becomes, how does Donald Trump appeal to the Reagan Democrats in November with his populist trade message?
Well, and speaking of the populist trade message, we have a soundbite on just that point.
And I think we're going to get a lot of the Bernie Sanders voters, because one thing we had in common, and it's not a lot, but he knew that trade deals were terrible. And I know that trade deals are terrible. The difference is I can fix the trade deals and make them phenomenal.
Chris, you think that plays with those key Ohio swing voters?
Well, it does to a certain extent. I agree with most of what Capri said. But if you look back to turnout, going back to 1960, with Reagan Democrats, as Capri referred to them, I would say non-Hispanic whites, working class whites, it's been down every single year with one exception. And that one exception was 1992. And if you hold turnout steady amongst African Americans, amongst Hispanics, and assume that Trump's message can have the same level of motivation with those non-Hispanic whites, it would amount for another 8.8 million votes that would occur that it did not occur in 2012.
Right,
now, there's really only 3 states where that would matter, and one of those happens to be Ohio.
That's right.
You're going back, though, to 1992. That was an inherently unusual election because you had Ross Perot in there. So where do you put Trump in?
That's right.
Where does Trump go in, Chris? Is he the Ross Perot-esque candidate driving turnout? Is he the Bill Clinton-esque candidate? Where's he playing?
The similarity between Trump and Perot, I think, is sort of you've got this ideological defying billionaire who is taking on trade and saying that I'm going to make America great again. And that's kind of the similarities between them. It's where they almost start and end also, to be clear.
Agreed.
But that one point, if he's able to activate 75% of those non-Hispanic whites that did not turn out in 2012, it gives him a victory in Ohio. And I think that's why it's a 2-point race
and
right
that's
now.
what we saw, and that's what we saw in the primary, to be quite frank. I mean, in eastern Ohio, which is, you know, what I represent in the Ohio Senate, you know, we saw a Trump victory basically from the lake to the river in coal country and in steel country, specifically for this reason. And we saw Democrats cross over into the Republican primary. One quick thing about turnout as well. One thing that I think people are not really recognizing is that the traditional turnout model, if you're like looking to see, okay, XYZ is going to, you know, they're going to the polls. I don't think it's necessarily as indicative as it has been in the past, because I think there will be people that go to the polls and skip president, both as Democrats and Republicans, and just vote for United States Senate and down the line. And so just because you're looking at who showed up to the polls, I think the exit polls are actually going to be more important than seeing who actually shows up in raw numbers.
Worth pointing out, Chris, I'm going to give you the last word. Take you back to 1992. It was Bill Clinton who won the state of Ohio.
He did, but if you add Bush's vote and Perot's vote, it exceeds Bill Clinton's vote, and that's kind of the thing that Trump has to do. And let me also be clear, it is not, to Capri's point, it's not 100% certain that those voters that voted for Mitt Romney are going to vote for Donald Trump.
Right.
So he's really got to run the gauntlet. He's got to win the Romney voters, and he's got to turn out voters that were there in 1992 and really haven't been there since. And that's a very difficult road to hoe. But again, it's why it's a 2-point race today. But again, it also makes sense that I think the exit polls and seeing who does vote vote who cast a vote in the presidential election. Because just because they're polled saying they're going to vote on that doesn't necessarily mean they will.
Once we have the exit polls, we can just have the results, and then we put this all to bed. All right, Chris.
But that's not as much fun.
No. Now we can talk about it. And we'll see also, of course, if Mike Pence, governor of Indiana, if he becomes Trump's running mate, how that would change things.
That's not going to mean anything in Ohio.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. We'll wonder if anybody's listening. Capri, Chris, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Right.